Have you ever thought that something you said would still be relevant more than 230 years later? Thomas Paine, a world revolutionary before his time. Just days before Thomas Paine's January 29th birthday, Barack Obama recognizes Thomas Paine's legacy in his presidential inauguration speech.
The father of our nation ordered these words be read to the people. Let it be told to the future world that in the depth of winter, when nothing but hope and virtue could survive, that the city and the country, alarmed at one common danger, came forth to meet it. America, in the face of our common dangers, in this winter of our hardship, let us remember these timeless words.
These timeless words are those of Thomas Paine 200 years ago. Thomas Paine's Crisis Papers, These Are the Times That Try Men's Souls, is seen as visionary. As men's souls are being tried once more, Thomas Paine's common sense is back at the heart of American politics. Thomas Paine was born in Thetford, England in 1737, the son of a poor farmer and corset maker. His father's Quaker religion left an indelible impression and was instrumental in forging his ideals of egalitarianism and social justice. Paine left formal schooling when he was 13. He briefly served as a privateer. He was generally unsuccessful with many positions, including corset maker, husband, father, teacher, minister, and excise officer. Bankrupt and without work, he moved to London. During this time of enlightenment, Paine studied the philosophies of Newton and Burke, which farther influenced him. This brought him into contact with Benjamin Franklin in London as a counsel of immigration to British colonial America. Franklin gave Paine a letter of recommendation, and in 1774, at the age of 37, he emigrated to Philadelphia. At that time, Philadelphia was charged with revolutionary fervor. He began to write about such diverse topics as cruelty to animals, justice for women, and black emancipation, all from a humanitarian standpoint. He was one of the first people in America to demand the end of slavery in his essay, African Slavery in America, published in the Pennsylvania Journal in 1775. In May 1775, the Second Continental Congress met in Philadelphia and drafted another letter to King George in one last attempt for peace. Fearing that their only option would be war with Great Britain, they formed the Continental Army, naming George Washington commander of the army. When fighting broke out with the British, no one expected that full independence would result. It was Thomas Paine's pamphlet, Common Sense, that electrified the sense of growing republicanism. Paine wrote and reasoned in a style that common people understood. He was a writer for the common man, foregoing philosophy and Latin references used by Enlightenment-era writers. It was structured like a sermon, and he used biblical references to make his case to the people. Common Sense was a phenomenal success. The impact of Common Sense was immediate and tremendous. Written anonymously, it sold over 100,000 copies in the first 3 months. Paine rallied the colonists with,
"We have it in our power to begin the world over again."
We hear those same words today as we re-examine our republic with the words of Barack Obama in his inaugural speech on January 21st, 2009.
Ourselves off and begin again the work of remaking America.
Common Sense rallies the colonists to declare independence from English rule. He calls for a Continental Congress to set up a new Republican form of government. The ideas of Common Sense echoed through Jefferson's Declaration of Independence, not only in defense of independence, but also in support of a new system of government.
In terms of the Declaration of Independence, he had written extensively, of course, about the tyranny of the British monarchy. Many of his phrases were certainly adopted, some verbatim, some at least modified, within the Declaration of Independence.
On July 4th, 1776, the delegates of the Second Continental Congress signed the Declaration of Independence. At this time, Paine devotes himself to the American cause and joins the Continental Army. Paine is stationed with General George Washington's army in late 1776. He begins a series of 13 inspiring essays the Crisis Papers. To boost the troops' morale after a recent defeat and retreat, General George Washington orders Paine's first pamphlet read to his troops as they prepared for battle in Trenton. His inspiring words have been credited with victory, thus turning the tide of the Revolutionary War. The American Crisis Paper, as well as news of victory, spread through the colonies, bolstering the confidence of not only the troops, but that of the colonists.
Without the pen of Paine, the sword of Washington would have been wielded in vain.
In his second Crisis Paper, Paine coins the term United States of America. In April 1783, Paine concluded his crisis series on a note of expectation.
The times that tried men's souls are over. The greatest and completest revolution the world ever knew, gloriously and happily accomplished.
After the Revolution, Paine worked on several inventions and traveled to London for support. In 1791, Paine wrote The Rights of Man, supporting the French Revolution and upholding the dignity and rights for the common person. For this writing against hereditary monarchy, he was convicted of seditious libel against the crown but was unavailable for hanging. He had fled England for France, where the French Revolution had just exploded in 1789. Paine was welcomed as a hero by French revolutionaries. He obtained French citizenship and took part in drawing up a new French constitution. However, due to his moral objection to capital punishment, Paine spoke out against the execution of Louis XVI. He was arrested and imprisoned. From his prison in Luxembourg, sensing execution, Paine wrote his most controversial writing, The Age of Reason. It was seen as a direct attack on the irrationality of revealed religion and a defense of deism. This was denounced as atheistic. After his release from French prison, Paine wrote his last great pamphlet, Agrarian Justice. The United States Social Security Administration credits Paine's Agrarian Justice as the first proposal for an old age pension.
Make sure that anyone who is old or infirm, handicapped people should not have to work. Obviously, they can't work. If they're too handicapped, they should be provided with a pension from the government. These ideas are amazingly radical for his time and progressive. So in that respect, I think he has to be regarded as a visionary of the role of government, a visionary of the idea of social progress, of inequality, not just the radical.
When Thomas Paine returned to America in 1802, he was attacked for his criticism of Washington, association with the French Revolution, his denunciation of traditional Christianity, and his opposition to slavery. He died in Greenwich Village, New York, on June 8, 1809. At his funeral, there were only 6 mourners. His obituary in the New York Citizen read, "He had lived long, did some good, and much harm." However, history reveals that Thomas Paine was a visionary and a world revolutionary before his time.
Why a man whose father less than 60 years ago might not have been served at a local restaurant can now stand before you to take a most sacred oath.
They are the kind of men and women Tom Paine had in mind when he wrote during the darkest days of the American Revolution. We have it in our power to begin the world over again.